going on, man? Back for another one of these?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Preparing for the snowpocalypse in Oklahoma and North Texas. I think North Texas is going to get hammered with ice again.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last big ice storm we had? It was
a few years ago, and then Dallas was out of power for like weeks. Some people
2020,
were.
I think, right? Or
No,
2019.
I thought it was like 22 or something.
Oh. Well, there was the one in Texas where, Ted Cruz went to Cancun.
Yeah. That's all over Reddit right now. You know it's going to be bad because Ted Cruz is not in Texas.
When Ted Cruz runs away from ice.
Yeah, he does not.
Sorry, I had to slip that one in.
He does not mess around. Oh, that's a good one. I did not catch on. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I can't take credit for it though. I saw it online.
Oh. Well, see, you should have just made it your own.
I know, but I don't want to get hammered in the comments,
Yeah.
There's going to be at least 2 out of the 3 people who watch this who are going to
know
that it wasn't my joke.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Fair
enough. I'm Scott Hess, tax and business consultant.
I'm John Barton, small business owner. Remember the tortoise and the hare? Slow and steady wins the race.
We started Turtlesmith to help people start small businesses, providing information and resources to small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Build a solid foundation and forge your dreams.
This is always annoying to ask, but if you're liking this content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way for us to get more followers and more people engaged in this great business content. You can also follow us on all socials at TurtlesmithOK and find us at turtlesmith.com.
So what do we got this week? God, what new enemy, what new thing do we have going on here?
Well, Calvin introduced me to this one because he's a big drone kind of guy. The U.S. has essentially banned Chinese-made drones from being imported and sold in the U.S. market.
So any Chinese brands?
It's my understanding. So, and what was crazy to me as I was learning about this is it wasn't like U.S. Customs or the FAA. It was the FCC, the Federal Communication Commission or whatever it is.
They even have the power to do that?
Well, so that's what I thought, and apparently they do. So they have this thing called the covered list. And the covered list is communications equipment and services deemed to pose an unacceptable risk to U.S. national security or public safety. And apparently because they radio transmit these drones, they fall under the FCC's purview or guidance. And so they put them on this covered list. And DJI is the manufacturer in China. They have like the biggest share of the market, consumer and commercial market in the U.S. I think it's like 70 or 80%.
Had.
And and they're the one that's getting hit the hardest.
Yeah, wow, that's craziness. And so I did a little bit of research into this after, we talked about it before the podcast, and apparently the alternative to the DJI, the best one or whatever it is that they have is like the DJI version is like $1,000, but the next best one other than them is like $14,000.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's called like Skydio or something is the brand manufacturer.
Yeah, and conveniently that is an American company.
Right. Yeah. Very convenient.
Yeah.
And how our government likes to initiate policies like that.
But this has been going on for a while though, hasn't it? I mean, I've heard about it kind of tangentially over the years.
Yeah. So this is the first I've learned about it, but yes, it has been going on for a long time. So sort of the timeline of events is in August of 2017, the U.S. Army discontinued their use of the DJI drones, which that kind of makes sense that the U.S. Army would stop using Chinese drones just in case they could be hacked or turned off or whatever.
I don't know why the United States military would be using any kind of electronics made by someone that we see as an adversary.
Well, I don't know if they were considered an adversary at the time.
I think we've always considered China to be an adversary since the 50s.
Well, see, they make a lot of our crap for them to be adversaries, but...
Yeah, but it's like our military is not supposed to be using it like that,
Fair enough. Well, so that happened in 2017. And then in May of 2019, Department of Homeland Security issued some warnings about possible data exfiltration. And then later in December of 2019, the DoD was then prohibited from procuring Chinese drones. And then in 2020, the DOI, Department of the Interior, grounded 800 drones. And then later, DJI was added to the commercial department entity list, which is similar to the covered list the FCC has, but it basically restricted some of the tech imports. And then in 2023, Florida, which you don't really think Florida as a leader in many things, no offense to Floridians, but they were the first state to ban foreign drones as a state agency, which I always thought, again, Florida, wild, wild west down there.
I don't even know how they can do that, because doesn't that like go into interstate commerce type stuff?
I mean, that's what I thought, but I guess they were allowed to limit what drones could fly in
for
the
state
airspace.
agencies.
Right, for state agencies. And then in December of 23, the American Security Drone Act was created, which created a federal phase-out plan for foreign manufactured drones. And then finally, in December of 25, just recently, the FCC added the foreign-made drones to the covered list, which essentially bans them from import to the U.S.
So much for the free market.
Well, it's wild to me. I mean, and again, the FCC being the one who makes this decision, but when you kind of put it all together, I guess it makes sense since they control the radio transmissions, but I don't know.
I mean, I just feel like that a lot of this is overreach. Yes, they're using, each of these agencies is using whatever power they have to regulate these things. But I think that when you, to me, honestly, it feels like we banned lawn darts because like one person got hurt, or something,
I've seen
because
some
one
lawn
kid
darts.
couldn't figure out how to get out of the way,
Listen, I wasn't there for the lawn dart of the 80s and 70s or whenever they were really popular, but my grandparents had some at the lake house and we almost died a few times. So they are definitely dangerous. Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
and then you get
what?
real bored and just start throwing them straight
guess
up
what?
in the air. And running.
Social Darwinism, you survived, therefore.
Yeah, I guess.
Now you get to pass on your genes because you knew how to get out of the way.
I mean, fair enough.
Almost died isn't died.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, if I added up all the times I almost died, you got to wonder if there was somebody looking out for me.
Oh, now we're going somewhere else. Anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, so this whole drone thing, of course I agree that the military should not be using drones. They shouldn't be using any kind of electronics where they don't know exactly what those electronics are doing.
I agree.
Regardless of where it comes from.
I agree. U.S. government, military, they should be more cautious than us.
Yeah.
But they can also afford the 1,400% markup.
So the next thing, though, is like, this is going to really affect small businesses tremendously, because we have seen that small businesses have made use of drones quite extensively.
Yeah.
My solar guy flew a drone over the top of my building to quote me on solar a month ago.
Right. Well, construction and civil engineering are the biggest use of commercial drones for small businesses right now. And you're right. I think insurance companies, builders, solar panel guys, everybody uses it to map houses and projects and get aerial views of stuff. It makes their lives so much easier.
They're spraying pesticides with drones on farms.
That was the other big use that I found very interesting was agriculture. I didn't know that drones were so big in agriculture, but apparently they're taking over.
Drones are being used to plant trees and plant crops.
I knew that. But now, I mean, even like, farmers are taking them up to look at their crops so they don't have to drive through their fields all day. They can just go get a view of everything going on, which is wild to me if you've ever dealt with some farmers, but they are in the new age. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, their tractors are like $1 million. That's a whole other issue that we can tackle one day.
It is in one of our episodes already. We talked pretty extensively about John Deere and
about the tractors, and the way that they're the right to repair and all that, and
but public safety, emergency response, surveying and mapping, utility inspections, and then of course, like Calvin uses it for media and filmmaking. There are so many small businesses that rely on DJI because they have affordable pricing, they're easy to use, and they're reliable.
Now, do we think that are they probably just going to get around this by moving like manufacturing to like some other country and rebranding?
It's possible, So one of the key aspects of this whole thing is that any drones that are currently have been bought or are currently on the shelves, they have already been approved. So like their transmission and radio and all their internal equipment,
Shit, people must be
they've
out
been
there
approved.
snapping them things up.
It's wild. The secondary market's like jacked up. People are buying them and reselling them on eBay and stuff like that, like they do with everything. And so if you have a drone now from DJI or one of these band deals, you are still allowed to use it in the US.
I bet people are like pulling their old DJI drones out of the closet that have been collecting dust for a while and putting them up
trying
on eBay.
to sell them out. But the real problem is going to be that the technology and software updates and all of that stuff, it goes rapidly. We are not, any update to the current drones has to get approved by the FCC, and it will not now. So none of the software will be updated. The hardware, as it breaks down, replacement parts will be tough to find.
You know that there's going to be foreign servers hosting the software needed, and people are going to be downloading it and sideloading it.
We talked about that in our Right to Repair episode as well.
Yeah.
There were like farmers were working with Russian hackers to hack their John Deeres so that they could get them fixed without having to take them in. Some of this stuff's still probably going to happen. Absolutely. And there are some, opportunities for small businesses here. Calvin was talking to me about getting himself a 3D printer and stuff so he can start 3D printing some of the parts that he'll need and other people will need. So, if you can make the replacement parts,
what this might do though, it might lead to a kind of resurgence of small manufacturing in the U.S. where hobbyists now become small manufacturers where they've got teams of 5, 10, or 20 people that are building drones.
Yeah,
I mean, I could see that happening.
Well, and you can see those stores, kind of like the fix your phone stores that you see in every corner now. They have hobby shops that can repair drones. I think a lot of them, mostly it was for like repairing RC cars, which is a big one, but they also do drones and they'll be able to print parts now. And if you're in that business, you should be looking at expanding for sure.
Yeah, that might be interesting. Now the question will be like, will you be able to buy parts for those drones from China?
No, that's the whole point. Yeah, you're not going to be able to import.
So you won't even be able to import anything.
Yeah, and really, parts can only go so far too. With everything nowadays, like on our phones, all of our apps, there are constant updates to the software to interact with, not only like the internet and Bluetooth and 5G and all that. So if these things aren't being updated, which they won't be because the FCC has to approve every update. If they're not being updated, their shelf life's only so long anyway. Even if you had all the
that's going to be like I said, it's going to be a huge opportunity for hackers. You're going to see that. You're going to see them getting their operating systems getting flashed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna hack into it and figure out how to set up whole new operating systems on there.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's funny because the last couple of days I've been arguing with a couple people about like anarchist societies and what that would look like and everything. This is a perfect opportunity for anarchist hackers to say screw the government. We're going to keep DJI drones going by hacking into them. Calvin, has anybody ever hacked into these that you know of?
I've heard of it a couple of times. More so, not hacking in to like take over or do anything nefarious. They actually have like big guns that shoot out a signal that disable drones that are flying like unauthorized over music festivals or stuff like that. And so that's the most common form, is just to disable them when they're in unauthorized spaces.
Yeah, that's disruptive. I know about that stuff, but yeah, I'm just wondering. I think that's what we're going to see. Is we're going to see people kind of responding to this by putting new operating systems on these things.
Oh yeah, I agree. I don't think small business guys are real excited to go out and spend $14,000 on a drone that used to cost them $1,000. So they're definitely going to find some workarounds or figure out how to 3D print their parts, work with hackers to figure out how to get the updates they need. I don't think we're going to see just a boom in sales.
Now I wonder, will this lead to more work for the people who do have working drones?
More work in what way?
Well, like, for example, Calvin does flyovers of buildings for his marketing and stuff like that. So, presumably there's a certain number of people in Oklahoma City that have the right type of drones to do that type of work. And anybody new that wants to get into it is either going to have to spend a lot of money on used ones, or they're not going to be able to buy a new one.
Well, I mean, they
So-
will be able to buy new ones. It'll just be at a much higher markup.
I know,
And so
but we're gonna.
I think what we'll see is a rise in prices and businesses, and we will probably see an explosion of these small businesses as prices rise.
Yeah.
People will be able to make more money. They'll be able to charge more for their services because they can't get drones as cheap.
But in the interim, right there, before that part of the economy, or that part of before that part of the supply chain rebuilds itself,
Mhm.
I think that it may lead to a higher cost or a higher barrier to entry in the use of drones for business. So therefore, the people who have those drones might find themselves more in demand.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and honestly, the market itself is exploding. I mean, we need more and more drone usage for more and more things. So, yeah, absolutely. If you already have a drone business, or if you have a drone and you're thinking about doing a business, it's probably a good time to start.
Yeah.
So when we were doing research on this, I just could not wrap my head around how in any capacity this was legal. Like, as a free American, I should be able to buy and fly whatever I want, as long as it's not, interrupting airspace or something like that. But when I was looking into it, the US really just has insane control about what comes into the borders. Like, what we import is heavily regulated, and they have a lot of leeway of what is and isn't. And so in this situation, we talked about, the FCC being able to control this with their list. The FAA controls flight, but the FCC controls anything with a radio transmission. And they have pretty wild powers to just ban things. Like, if it poses even a mild security risk and they don't like it, just banned.
I think that they have to, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think they have to kind of publish these things for opposition as well.
Mm-hmm.
And challenge. So there's a period, where they say we propose to do this.
Right.
Unless it's something super egregious that is clear cut. But
Mm-hmm.
if I remember right, DJI has been contesting this for a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's taken, 8 years to get done since they first.
Yeah, and this
banned
has
them in the US
spanned many
military.
administrations, so it's not, it's not any particular president or anything that
Right.
is doing this. It's basically a fully department-led initiative here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But-
and they definitely have some time, like some period of opposition. People can file formal complaints. DJI was trying it, but it's just wild to me that their reach and their ability to ban things is so long.
I think the public, though, is going to, there's probably going to be a pretty big public outcry over this. It's kind of like the TikTok ban, TikTok is supposed to be gone at this point.
Yeah, but it's not.
Like the law, Trump kind of expanded it for as long as he could. But then when the time came that TikTok was supposed to be gone, it hasn't been sold to anybody. And it's just still there. Like, they just kind of glossed over it.
Yeah.
So I think that there may end up being a pretty big public outcry on this, and Congress might take it up. I don't know, but
We'll see.
I think from what little bit I do remember, though, I think that the congressional committees that have taken this up are kind of bipartisan on the ban.
Mhm.
They're equally afraid of China.
Yeah, fair enough.
Actually, John, quick update on that. TikTok is in process of being sold, but it's no better because one of the main groups that's in on the deal to buy it is a Saudi group.
Which,
Just thought I'd throw that in there for you.
These
Well,
things can't go from bad to worse.
well,
All right.
we talked about that heavily with the Paramount deal. Paramount
geez.
trying to buy Discovery.
Yeah, it's we're in wild times these days, and what does this all mean for small businesses is all we really care about.
Yeah. Well, the reasoning behind some of this is really just the security concerns. And so, like, telemetry data and photographic and mapping of critical infrastructure, which we talked about a little bit before this, I just don't see the problem. Like, I guess if a drone is flying over Area 51 and taking detailed photos and sending them back to China, that might not be great. But as long as you're not in restricted airspace, I don't see how photographic and mapping helps in any way. They already have all that stuff from their satellites and things. So I
mean,
don't know.
that's-
It seems like a crazy concern to me. I understand why the military wouldn't want to use it, because the military drones will get hacked if they're flying a bomb or something, and it'll turn it around on us. But it seems silly for, a farmer's drone to be regulated.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I agree with you. I don't know, especially since they have said unequivocally, I believe, if I remember correctly, that that there's no data that is being sent back. But I don't know.
Well, I think one of the big kind of proponents of this fear is that Chinese law does encourage cooperation between private firms and state security, which is not encouraged here in the U.S. And so U.S. policymakers interpret this as potential for enforced data sharing. Like
So-
these drone manufacturers are receiving data back, and the Chinese government is forcing this drone company to give them the information that they want.
Okay.
Well, and that's just how it's been viewed or outlaid by.
No, I can understand
policymakers.
that, and I can say for sure that is something that China does. China definitely has a hand in the private companies in China. I lived there for 7 years, and I learned a lot about what China does with private. I mean, China, for example, and I might have said this before, but like their philosophy on this is that business exists at the pleasure of the government. All right, I shouldn't say pleasure, but
No, I think
business-
that makes sense. Yeah.
business should never interfere with the social stability that the government wants to implement. So
Mhm.
basically, a billionaire is a person in China is allowed to become a billionaire through their own entrepreneurship and whatever they can build, right? But they are never ever regarded in China as a citizen that is any more important or more powerful than any other citizen.
Mhm.
So an example of this was Jack Ma, who's the chairman of Alibaba, made some comments that were mildly critical of China or the government in there, and they basically disappeared him for a month. Like, maybe he was in some sort of re-education or something. I don't know. Nobody knows.
Right. And he's
Um,
not talking about it.
But when he came back, he was all business,
Yeah.
no government, no politics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how they feel over there, right? They feel like that they have an inherent right to be involved in corporations of certain sizes, and dictate some of the things that those corporations do, because that's how they see their role as a director of social harmony.
Well, and so that's the fear. I think that's led to
is,
these
yeah.
policies is that they will be able to get our, mapping and telemetry data and all that stuff. And the companies that are manufacturing them will be forced to give that information to the Chinese government.
And while I understand your point about like, don't they already have everything anyway? Like you said earlier, we could just send them a whole, fully detailed topographical map of the United States.
Yeah. Now I'm not saying we should,
And-
but when we were talking
Right.
about this before, I had said that if we sent China or any of our enemies a fully done map of the US showing them everything that they could ever want to know, I don't think it gives them anything that they don't already have. Like, I think they know pretty much everything.
I mean,
We know everything about them. They know everything about us.
and I don't know if I totally agree with that, and as Calvin said while we were having that discussion, things change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I could be naive too.
So I think that in this current climate where we have the ability to gather so much more data and more intimate data, right? More near the ground data,
Mhm.
using drones and using other means, especially when we start to talk about, the ability to disrupt infrastructure.
Yeah.
Right. Right now, we're sitting here and people are out there, lining up and wiping out all the generators at Harbor Freight because of the, upcoming snowpocalypse.
Yeah.
we might get 4 inches of snow in Oklahoma.
And anytime there's even a threat of snow, a light dusting of snow, generators go, and then the grocery stores, there is no more milk, bread, or eggs.
Right, and
Just
and
wiped
these
out.
people are seriously scared of the electricity going out.
Yeah,
Right?
for a couple days.
For
As if we don't all have pickup trucks that can't get around.
Right. But you can imagine, right, that what would happen if, somehow major transformers got taken out or something like that couldn't be repaired within a few days.
Oh.
Like if all of the sudden within a radius of 100 miles, every transformer just got taken out.
All right. Give me a timeline here. If the power went out, how fast are we just in, apocalypse murdering each other? I don't think more than 3 or 4 weeks here in Oklahoma before people are just forming gangs and roving the streets and scavenging and all that crazy.
Well, especially when toilet paper runs out, people get really crabby.
We did see that in COVID.
I mean, for real. But it's not, but the thing is though, is it's not just like the physical takeout of that stuff,
Mhm.
it's the, how easy is it to get into the infrastructure, into the electronics of it? How easy is it to get into the coding?
Well, see,
And-
and I think that's my point too, is like, even if they know where stuff is on the map, I don't think they're sending bombs or people to take it out. It's all done with computers, right? Like,
Right,
if
and
we were
so-
going to get attacked, it's going to happen on a cyber level, not.
Sure.
So maybe their fear is that those drones help coordinate, or they use the Bluetooth in some way to hack them. That might make more sense.
They might fly drones around, look with Wi-Fi sniffers or something,
yeah.
and looking for unsecure networks and
All
things
right.
like that.
That might make more sense.
I mean, I don't know. There's just a whole bunch of ways that I could imagine that they could be used that way, but I still feel like, and I think we're in agreement that this feels just super heavy-handed though, because I think for the military it makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
But I think that for the consumer level, I think if the United States really cares about it, what they should do is they should have a department that inspects these things and employ hackers or put out bug bounties or something like that, where people can get into the electronics and say for sure whether or not these are shipping data back, and force these companies to only have their servers in the US or something like that, and make them prove that no data leaves the United States. I think we could do things like that would be a bridge between these things rather than these outright bans.
Right. And another government policy won't hurt small businesses, which is what this is going to do. It's gonna cost small
that would
businesses
be
that use drones a fortune.
That would be using the power of the federal government to help secure the data while allowing the innovation that's in these drones to help our small businesses, and big businesses, frankly,
Yeah, and big businesses. Well, just to me, this also seems like kind of one of the many things in a long line since 9/11 happened, where the government is stripping our freedoms in exchange for what they think is security.
Well,
And I feel like it's been happening my whole life, because I was 12 when 9/11 happened. And so it's just like continuous
I was in the air
disaster.
when 9/11 happened.
Were you?
Yeah, I was on my way to Chesapeake, Virginia for
Oh,
the
good Lord. Was that chaos
for
when
the
you
US Open.
landed?
Yeah, all the planes in the United States got grounded. We got grounded in Kansas City.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
Did they get you out, or did you have to drive, or?
Dude, we had to rent a U-Haul truck. There was no rental cars available.
You had a U-Haul
we
truck?
rented a U-Haul truck to drive back to Colorado to get back home.
Oh, you didn't even make it to Virginia?
No,
You just went home.
it's my booth, my boxes, everything made it to Virginia. I had to arrange for all that to come back
Good Lord.
because there was no planes. We couldn't for like 2 or 3 days. We couldn't
Yeah.
fly anywhere.
Right.
And I wasn't going to drive a U-Haul across the country. And they weren't
Yeah.
giving any damn discounts on it either. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, we just
So
flew
you
home
just drove an empty U-Haul back to
back to Colorado. Yeah,
that
from
is
Kansas City.
incredible.
Yeah,
That is incredible.
no, you couldn't get any rental cars, nothing. I mean, they were all sold out. Yeah, I mean, yes, Benjamin Franklin said, those who trade a little bit of security for a little bit, or a little bit of liberty for a little bit of security, deserve neither.
Right.
And I've thought about that over the years, and you know, while it's a catchy phrase, I think that it is a little hard to swallow in the modern world because of all the different ways that things could happen.
Yeah.
Now, just life in general, though, like how much does the average person ever really get affected, even by things like war? You know, like if you really think about it, back in World War II, right? Yes, people went to war, right? Yes, we had rationing in the United States, but life on the ground in the United States was not affected by
I mean, not since really
the Nazis bombing people
Yeah.
in, you know, like people were not.
the U.S. has been pretty tame since the Civil War, really. I
Yeah.
mean, we've had a lot of problems with, you know, genocides of natives and all
Yeah,
kinds
but
of
like
other
you said,
civil
you
rights and
said-
that stuff, but we've never had really Germans weren't bombing us.
Right. And you know, and I mean, I think the closest we came after World War II, we had nuclear drills, you know, where we're
Mhm.
supposed to get under our desk if that's going to do something. But like you said earlier, we don't, there's really hardly any threat of invasion
No,
into the United States.
it's
So
just too big and too hard.
So what we have to worry about really that I think are real fears, I mean, you know, with some validity behind them, is our attacks on our infrastructure. Are like
Yeah.
can a nuclear power plant be shut down, you know?
Mhm.
Can you shut down
Remotely.
the cooling
Yeah,
remotely?
Right.
Can you turn off the water treatment plant, you know, and
Right.
and allow E. coli to flow into everyone's tap water?
And see, those are all valid concerns, security concerns.
Yeah, can you wipe out the electricity grid for half the United States?
Yes, I think you can with cyber attacks.
You know, so these are the concerns that I believe are valid, where we have been fairly lax
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of degrees. I mean, I think that you can find analysis of this that show that. So I'm not totally on board with saying that this is necessarily an erosion of liberty. But I am on board with saying I don't believe in a blanket ban, you know, without super concrete proof of a threat.
All right. I think we agree then.
You know,
I think we're on the same page there.
but I just think that, you know, they don't. I do think that a lot of times the government will make a decision like this, and it can wipe out, you know, millions of dollars, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in value for people who have invested in the capabilities that the drones bring.
Yeah, I think
know?
I think with some of these government policies, they just don't think about the small business.
No, of course
the little
not.
guy trying to get along, you know, doing his solar panels and mapping or construction or agriculture, stuff like that. They think, well, these big corporations can just buy other drones. The government can buy bigger drones and more expensive drones because those aren't big costs.
I mean, think
to
about
them.
that. Think about the construction company that, I mean, we have one that we're involved in a little bit, Rhino Backyards,
Mhm.
right? And it's helpful to them, I imagine, if they can fly over somebody's backyard and get a real good, accurate picture of what's going on from a bird's eye view.
It helps, yeah.
And imagine if that guy right now, you know, was building his business over the last couple of years, and he says, you know what, I'm ready to invest in a couple drones and someone to operate it and hire that guy and everything. I can send him out to go to houses, and it's going to look real impressive to people. And now he goes to buy it, and he's like, well, shit, last month when I was looking at them, they were like $1,000, and now they're 14,000.
Yep. All these companies, they're going to have to buy these $14,000 drones. Then they're going to have to retrain all of their people. So that's extra cost. It's just going to be a disaster.
So that does bring up a question, though, Calvin. And I don't think we researched this, but I see that we have some alternatives up there.
yeah, the big ones I think are.
But my question is, are there no other countries or no other places where drones are manufactured other than China?
there are
Taiwan
Yeah.
drones?
Yes.
Are there Taiwanese? Are there?
I believe there is either Sweden or Switzerland. It's probably one of, and it's far down the list as far as the world's leading. But outside of the USA and China, the list starts getting very small.
What about
very
Ukraine?
fast.
Ukraine's manufacturing their own drones now, right?
Yeah, but I think they're pretty singularly purposed.
They have no extra capacity for.
I think they're just doing their one thing there in Ukraine. Yeah. So, but there are several American ones, like you talked about this. I don't know if it's Skydio or Skidio, however.
Yeah,
but they're the U.S. one. But there is going to be, I think, an opportunity for other countries to start manufacturing them or to scale up their current manufacturing to meet the new growing demand.
Like, what would happen if, for example, DJI were to license their tech to a company in, say, Vietnam or something like that, right? They start making the drones. DJI just is getting a piece of each one, and there's no tie-in with the Chinese government at all.
It's an excellent question that is far above our head.
Yeah,
it's something that
I imagine they're exploring every avenue.
I guarantee right now. I'm sure DJI is not just saying, "Oh well, we lost the U.S. market. Let's move on with our lives." Like I'm sure they are scrambling to.
They had to have been preparing for this for years.
For sure, and I think we'll see something soon. But like in the meantime, until they can get something up and running, small businesses are really going to be hammered.
So if you're a small business in the Oklahoma City area and you need a qualified drone operator that has a working DJI drone,
yeah, we got you covered.
We got you covered here at Turtlesmith.
Absolutely. Well, any final thoughts on this drone issue or American security or small business opportunities?
I think we've pretty much covered it all. I don't know what else I can say. I mean, I'm not a fan of big government and heavy-handedness, and I think this can of worms has quite a lot of worms in it.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. If there is a proven threat where they really looked at this, they dissected the parts, they went through everything, and they said, here is where it's transmitting back to China, we're banning this company, I think we're all on board with that. But I think right now it's just fears and hearsay and really just another stab at China from our government.
Yeah.
So... Well, check us out at turtlesmith.com, at turtlesmithok at all of our socials. Definitely check out our lives, 4:30 Central Time every Thursday. We answer business questions, or we'll be happy to have a conversation with you about this topic or any of our podcasts. And we have our business plan competition open right now. Check our website out for all the details on how to submit. Big winners gets $1,000.
$1,000.
And we're also offering our expert mentorship, or really, you don't have to take it. We'll probably mess it up, but that's what we do.
All right. Well, come get that money.
Yeah. Come get the money.
You guys take care. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. This is always annoying to ask, but if you're liking this content, please like and subscribe. It's the best way for us to get more followers and more people engaged in this great business content. You can also follow us on all socials at TurtlesmithOK and find us at turtlesmith.com.